we are living, and I don't believe we're living with the awareness that every moment is precious. And that doesn't mean like we have to be doing stuff all the time. If actually it means the opposite. It means like almost doing nothing or not being an extremist ever again in your life starting right this moment.
You're listening to the MILF Podcast. This is the show where we talk about motherhood and sexuality with amazing women with fascinating stories to share on the joys of being a MILF. Now here's your host, the MILFiest MILF I know, Jennifer Tracy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is MILF Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Tracy. This is the show where we talk about motherhood, entrepreneurship, sexuality, balancing everything, and trying to stay sane, or sometimes going insane together, because it's all okay. And we let it all out here. Today on the show, we have Jules Blaine Davis. Jules is many things. She's a kitchen healer. She's an artist. She's a performer and writer. And it was so funny. Like, we could not get this schedule together. She had to cancel. I had to cancel. I got there on a beautiful Thursday morning and she had a fire blazing outside and I didn't have my memory card. So her husband went and got a memory card and then that thing didn't work. I mean, it was just like the universe was like, nope, you are not supposed to record today. So we didn't. We recorded a week later. And, you know, as divine timing has it, these things always happen when they're supposed to. And it was an incredible interview. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. I also just want to take this moment to thank each and every one of you who are listening to this episode, all of you who've listened to any other episodes. I'm really, really proud of this show and how many women it's helping. I can't tell you how many direct messages, emails, comments I'm getting on how much this podcast is helping women. And that's the whole juice, you know, that's my goal. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for spreading the word because it does seem to be growing. Really happy about that. And thanks again to my production team at Fullcast for making this happen every week. All right. Enjoy my interview with Jules Blaine Davis. Hi, Jules.
Hi, it's me.
Is it
me?
It's you.
Jules, are you there?
It is
I am here.
100% you. So here we are. This is like take 4 for us, I think.
Both physically and spiritually.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So we scheduled it. You had a family issue. You had to fly away. Then the second time I was sick in bed. And then last time I came and I didn't have my memory card. And that was a whole thing. Like, your husband went and bought one and that card was faulty. The universe was just like, not today, ladies.
Totally. That's crazy. Like, out of all of them in Walgreens or wherever,
I know.
Like, he picks the faulty one out of all his do goodness. He was doing such a mitzvah.
He was so amazing. He was like rescuing us. And it was like, oh, it didn't work. Anyway, so here we are. And we were just talking about the unknown just before we hit record, and like being in that space of the unknown, which we all are in general, but sometimes it's more pronounced and it's so uncomfortable. So fucking uncomfortable.
All we can do is like laugh and then cry.
Oh, yeah.
And then laugh and cry again.
Yeah.
I always laughed and cried at the same time when I was a kid. And it feels super comforting.
It does.
People could also call that totally crazy, but that also feels super comforting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. The unknown terrain of living. It's fascinating.
I mean, so in that context, in the context of milfiness and motherhood, did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
Such a great question. You know, I never considered it a choice.
In what sense?
I just figured like, I'll be one.
Right.
Like, it just never was like, there was never like a pause.
So yes.
In the thought.
Yes.
Yeah. It was just like,
such a natural
I'll be
thing.
doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't even like do you want to do that? Like, what's that? That's a question about it. It's so, I guess that would be me knowing.
Yeah.
Right. But I really didn't even, there was no comma or semicolon. It was just, that's happening.
Yeah.
that will be a part of the journey.
Yeah. I felt the same.
Yeah.
I had moments of, because I'm so tortured in love, I have to just segue for a second. As I was about to talk about how tortured I am with love and romantic
They're
love.
all just hanging.
We can come back to that anytime, really, in the next, until I'm dead. So you and I met, actually, we were on a Taco Bell commercial together. Do you remember that?
My gosh, I just love you and your memory. Like, I don't remember yesterday. So I'm like, please tell me how we met. And like, were we against a wall? Like, I remember textures, or like, I think I sat with you and there was a white wall.
There was a big white wall.
What am I on drugs? Like, I literally have like, it's like a collage, but I don't remember what I was doing, or like, did I audition for commercials? Did I even go out for them?
No, right? Isn't that such
did
a
I
separate
drive
life?
to Bundy and freaking Olympic ever in my life? I did. I really did. I sat in that traffic and I did. I would go and say my name, say my name, say my name.
Jennifer, Tracy, profiles, show me your hands.
Totally.
For those of you not in Hollywood, this is the insanity of commercial auditioning. It is very, it just,
you're
it's its own
hoping
life.
to be a regular person who takes Tylenol. Like that's, they're going to tell you, you look like a person who can use a pen.
Right.
Like that is essentially like, that's your aspiration.
And then you're like, I win.
Totally.
When you win it.
Like I eat a Sonic burger.
And I
in
get
Arizona.
health insurance now.
Totally.
And I get, whatever.
Yeah, it's so
but
interesting.
There's not really a lot of soul sustenance, or there wasn't for me.
Yeah. No, it definitely, and I just kept changing my hair, and my agent's like, please stop doing that if you want to get a job. And I'm like, she's like, you're not tattooed, so I can't put you in the other category because you're like wholesome, but like you have pink hair. And I was like, I'm me. And then I would drive across town and not get the audition. It didn't make any sense. It was really struggling.
Isn't it so funny? Like, so I just recently cut my hair and shaved the sides of my head for the first time ever.
Looks so good.
And thank you. It's been really liberating. And my agents called me and they're like, you have an audition for the first time in months. I've been with the same. And anyway, I was like, oh, but I shaved my head. They're like, oh, that's great. We love, that's good for this one. Like, we want you to go. And I was like, I can't go. But your hair is really in. So do you want to audition? And I was like, well, and it really forced me to ask that question of like, do I want to? But I remember trying to fit myself as a young, 20 something actress. Like you just said, it's so funny. Like, well, you can't really have dyed hair because you don't have tattoos. It's like, why? Who made that rule? Like, that's so silly.
Or body piercings for that matter. Like you'd really have to do a forever thing with the dyed hair.
Yeah. I was told, it's so crazy. I was told like, well, you're pretty, but you're not that kind of pretty.
Yeah, no, I was definitely told that. I was not big enough to be the best friend, but I was the lead, but I wasn't pretty enough to be the lead. And I was just like, wow, I'm going to really have to create something myself.
Well, and it's just that constant, like the message that I hear or that I heard then was, you're not good enough exactly as you are.
Sure. Which is now ridiculous.
It's so insane, but it's what I tell my son every day, whether he's, anyway. So yeah. And here we are now 40 something and like
rocking it.
You got pink hair. I've got a shaved head.
It couldn't get pinker really. And I say, love you guys.
Yeah.
Sending the love.
Yeah. You do you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And you are.
We met doing that, which was several lifetimes ago. We both had like 18 different careers since then. But the through line, I think, for both of us is, that deep desire to express ourselves through art and dialogue. And for you now, and with your amazing work that you're doing, but you always did this work. It just was, now it has this kind of, I don't want to say formal name, but it's like, it's so expanded and expressed that it's taken on its own thing. But you've always helped women. You helped me when you met me, and you helped me so much. So I love that you help women recognize, to what we were just speaking about in the acting world in this, you help women recognize their own innate value that is uniquely theirs. That's so beautiful. There's nothing better.
Yay. I mean, like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that like we all do that once we see ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Like once we finally, whatever that means, get to, I think it's probably just an enormous pot of permission. And we just like get to something, whatever it's through, the many different ways we scaffold, the many different ways we shed and unravel our old stories. However you get to even an ounce of permission and you see yourself in a different light, it's like, oh, there I am. And it feels familiar because we were there.
Yeah.
We were there before.
Yeah.
Like we were pure light and goodness and enoughness and all of that. And not to say it like kind of like feathery and like, you know, cue the Aquarius song or whatever, but or the time of Aquarian or whatever. And really good work on that. But it's and I say that often because, you know, it can sound really like flighty, especially for those who are so hungry to be awake and yet in their lives or our culture doesn't reflect it. Whatever, wherever you are, you know, it's hard to find it. It's hard to see it if you've not seen it before. Then once you see it, just an inkling of it, you start to see it everywhere.
Yeah. So true.
Right. And so that's the coolest thing is that it's actually not far away at all. Like we all think we need to overlabor to heal. We all think it's a major ordeal to say yes.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
Yeah.
You know, it is. And then it's really not. Like for me, I'm really not even allowed to say no. I mean, unless it's something that's just so not aligned. But in the realms of the yes, it's like my whole being is a yes. You know, like even if it's super uncomfortable or whatever, like someone will say to me, I was just at the Brave Magic conference with Liz Gilbert and Cheryl Strait a few weeks ago. And Cheryl had come up to me. And of course, like you write a lot throughout these days and there was 1 million people there and I'm never at anything where there's 1 million people. I don't go to concerts. I don't
that's a lot of energy.
Me and 7 women is like plenty.
That's the max.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get all of you like deep into my being in 5 minutes? And so 700 or whatever, I was like, this will be a one-time thing. And what a great learning for me on so many levels as a teacher and a writer and all of those things. But she came up to me and of course she comes up to me in the writing that was just like, bleh. Like all my other writing was like, I'll totally read this on stage. I am ready at any point. I wrote to fear. Let's fucking get this on. And like she comes up to me like the last writing and I was like, this is a piece of shit. And like, I just knew like.
Wait, meaning something you wrote during the conference?
Yeah, and then she would come up and say, will you read it, you know, to like just a few people. And like, I couldn't get arrested by them. Like I would try to place myself somewhere or like, you know, like, can Liz see me? Like, I can't wait to get to know them later or like whatever. Like, I can't wait for them to have a conversation from their neck below. And like, you know, it just really, they need a kitchen healer. Because so do I. And anyway, the point is there's no point. But of course she comes up to me like, will you read this? And like everything in me was like, this is not the one. Like, this is not the one. And I was like, yes, because I can't say no. And I was with a friend who's been my client for a while. And she's like, it doesn't matter what happened. Like you say yes. And I was like, I do.
Yeah.
Like I have to say yes to keep growing.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and what's so crazy about the yes, and then maybe I'll wrap it up, maybe I won't, but I went in for a little something on my body, this unknown situation. And she had asked, it's the left breast. And I was like, yes, it's the left breast. Because they want to know every 5 seconds that it's the right, you know, it's that side. Right. And she wrote on me in Sharpie, but I didn't know what she wrote. And then she did like little kind of polka dot things of like where the cells were that she was going to take out. I had some surgery, right? And so she did that whole thing. And I said to Josh, take a photo of this. I don't even know what's there. Just take a photo. I want to make sure that we have like these witnessings for me. And the next day, and as I was recovering, I looked through the photos and the word was yes.
Wow.
It could have said here. It could have said left breast, this one, maybe just a weird shape that's scientific.
Wow.
And it said yes. I was just like, okay, God.
I just got chills. Wow.
I mean,
That's crazy.
it's just all about the yes. Like an all you can eat at yes. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a yes that's like, it doesn't mean to, it doesn't need to feel that way.
Yeah.
But I don't mean yes when it's a no.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Let's make sure that's real clear.
Yes. I was just going to say, there's like, because it took me, I'm 43 and it took me probably 39 years to learn how to say no just to things that aren't, like you said,
Absolutely.
aligned for me.
Which is really a yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a yes to Jen, to my authentic self.
And your body and your wisdom, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. But it just, I wasn't, thinking about how I grew up, it wasn't, grief, for example. I just went through some grief. Some friends of mine, the matriarch of their family died, and it wasn't my mother, it wasn't my grandmother, but like I was witnessing the grief and like kind of just holding space for them, and I never was taught to deal with grief growing up. And at the same time, I was reading Charlotte's Web to my son. And we get toward the end and I got really nervous because I was like, oh, fuck, Charlotte's going to die.
Oh my
He's going to freak out. He's going to freak out. Didn't freak out. Because we've talked about death and like he understands death. He said, my dad has had cancer for 20 years. He understands what that is. He understands that, Papa's not going to live much longer. Like, and I thought, gosh, it was in my growing up, it was like, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't name it. For God's sake, don't name it. And for God's sake, don't feel sad about it.
Wow.
So like,
I wonder what they thought that would lead to, or were they just thinking in the moment? Like if you really open the door to like, how's this going to land? Right. Because I think that for all of us as moms, these are the generations of, okay, what I do now is impacting later.
Yes.
Like I think we think that much more than, I don't think my parents thought that.
No, mine either.
Yeah. So I don't think there was like a future thought to even next week,
right?
Let alone in 20 years. And I think that for the most part, we're thinking about, okay, if I say yes to this chocolate bar, are you fucked in 30 years and in therapy? I've really literally come to the realization that I can't fucking control it. I'm totally powerless. But it's on my mind. I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe I want to go back to their time because I really can't control a goddamn thing anyway.
Yeah.
But I think we're more aware of like impact, right? I think, I don't know, future impact. But what was I getting to with that? There was something. What are they thinking about in terms of like not naming it? How was that going to be okay later?
I don't think that was, I think you're right. I don't think that was a thought. And I think it was more about their own discomfort with the subject matter and not knowing because their parents didn't talk to them and their parents didn't talk to them and their parents didn't talk to them. And,
right.
Instead of it just being like, let's name it. Oh, it's this. This is what I know about it. This is what I don't know about it. And there's a lot I don't know about it. Do you have any ideas? And my kid always has like amazing ideas. Like he told me the other day, he's like, I think God is just a giant heart. Like he's a giant heart, like the shape of a heart. He goes, not like the cartoon heart that you see, like with the curvy lines. He's like an actual organ. He goes, filled with love. And there's just light pouring out of it. And I was like, who are you?
You're like Guru Shani Sansa.
Totally. That is so pure because it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
So good.
So you just had this surgery.
I did.
You're in the unknown.
I'm so in the unknown of the body's wisdom.
And we were chatting the other day when we didn't get to record, but we got to spend an hour together and catch up, which was beautiful. You were talking to me and it was so amazing. I was like, I got to remember this because I want to ask her this for the podcast. You were talking about the work you do with women and with kitchen healing, which is way more encompassing than just the kitchen. And you'll get into that, I hope. But, or you will. I will force you to get into it. I'm kidding.
Yes.
That's my girl. Is that you were saying that you are writing a book, which is very exciting. I want to talk about that. And you said it's so interesting that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you made the decision to commit to writing this book and being on this journey. And you felt like there were all these things that were like thrown at you, like, here's this thing in your body, and here's this other roadblock, and here's like, it's showing you this depth that you're saying yes to because that's what you do. And like, it's revealing this message to you that you're going to give to the world, which is pretty profound.
I mean, I think so. There's moments of real, I would say, blankness. And you're like, what did I say that made me feel better before?
Totally.
This is an epic poem that is your life, quilting inside the deepest wounds. And then I'm like, wait, I don't feel God, or whatever.
Wait, we're out of toilet paper.
Totally. I'm like, I'm in a Walgreens and I want to die or whatever, right? Like, it's just like, and then, and then like, you see a lot of homeless people and you're like, what do I do about that shit? That's like real. Or for instance, every single thing that's happening every single day right now in our government, and how our culture doesn't hold for us and how we have to become the culture.
Yeah.
And all those things. So what was the question?
There wasn't one. I was expounding.
Yeah, lots of teachers. Lots of teachers for you. Yes, lots of teachers. And so, the book is going to continue to tell me what it is, right? I mean, we started today saying, we have no control. And I mean, if there's anything that, Meister Eckhart says, if there's any prayer, it's thank you, and I kind of chopped that down to a cliff note. And the other one is maybe for the Jewish lineage is you have no control over anything, or any lineage for that matter. Yeah. We're probably all Jews, but anyway, we don't have to talk about it. I know nothing. But just this idea of like wanting to control, I see it in everything.
Yeah.
In everything I do, I have to watch it. It puts on a Chloe dress that I don't have and puts on glasses and like, I think, oh my God, she's totally with it and grounded. And then like, nope, she's trying to control something, it's like, and I love her. I love her. I love her dress. I love her,
confidence.
I love her confidence. I love her unshowered skin. I love so many things about her. And I love her permission and her knowing that, like every minute am I trying to control this, and these teachers that have shown up. My dad was, at any moment, at any moment we're all, what I've come to realize is like, we're all dying. I mean, it's not the greatest thing to say, but we don't know that we are, and we need to know that we are. Yeah. Like we're in our own way. Why does cancer have to like come into your life so that you can get out of your own way? I mean, it looks like it does. And it's not rare. Like it's fucking everywhere. Yeah. And I didn't know that. And that's like, wow. And also just the idea of, just the fact that we are living, and I don't believe we're living with the awareness that every moment is precious. And that doesn't mean like we have to be doing stuff all the time. If actually it means the opposite. It means like almost doing nothing or not being an extremist ever again in your life, starting right this moment. Yeah. Say yes. For $9.99. But I mean, it feels like, I really have, it's the same thing with, did you always know you were going to be a mother? I feel like it's the same thing with the book when people say, well, do you want to write the book? And I'm like, I mean, I didn't really even ask myself that. It's like, it's the highest service is to share this medicine. And it's here coming through me. Yeah. It's not mine.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just like doing this podcast, like this was going to happen last week before this surgery, which has been a super private journey. And by the time this comes out, I'm sure it won't be as private and I'll know more about it. And it's just so fascinating. Like we were ready to go. And like, I knew what I knew then in the unknown. And now I'm 2 days post-op and, here we are. So it's just in a different location in the house instead of outside by the fire. And like all these things, again, we were like controlling, not even knowing we were controlling it.
Right.
And then like Josh getting the thing. And like, I mean, it's really fascinating.
It is.
It is. And so like whenever is my husband like, I'll come home and that's the life I dream of.
That was incredible. He was here in 10 minutes.
I know.
I was like, wow.
I was like, it's going to be okay, whatever happens. And then he's like, dun, da, da, da.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what are you doing? I mean,
and it still didn't work.
And it still didn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah, the teachers I've had longing show up, and fire and just this really new space that I didn't know was available around my like deep hunger, inside, like loving in the most wide and deep way. And then I've had my body show up and I mean, in such a unique way of something that literally makes no sense. It's so unknown. And also, there's none of it in my family. I mean, all of it, just like they're all showing up to author this book with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so that's one way to make it feel a little like, hey, get the cashmere blanket and let's watch a movie. And then the other way is like, where's God and what is really happening? And no matter what I know or don't know, I just have to keep moving through my life.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yes.
Like it really is that. Like our connection is so vital. We need each other so much. Like the fact that I love that we're using Walgreens. It's like really, I wish they would be producing the show. Be really bringing it in for them. But you know, just being in a line there and like looking at each other and just like loving each woman we see.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just not available yet.
Yeah.
Because everyone's scared, you know, to really look even in each other's eyes or have an intimate moment. But we're all so hungry to have it.
Starved.
I mean,
that's what
we're
the
dying
social
for
media
it.
and Instagram is like.
Exactly.
Someone asked me the other day, like, why do you use the stories? You know, the Instagram stories. And I said, you know, I used to think the same thing. And I used to be like, oh, I don't get it.
Totally.
And now that I have this, you know, podcast and I want to engage with my listeners. And the reason is it's personal. It's more personal, like to have someone talking to you through it's never as personal as in the flesh.
Right.
But it's what we can get. So it's like having a Diet Coke, right? It's like not the real thing. It's like having a Diet Coke and you're like, oh, okay. The problem is you end up drinking 10 Diet Cokes and then you feel sick.
Right.
When you'd rather just have like half a glass of the real one.
Totally.
You know, in person. So I want to go back to pre-kids, pre-marriage, because your journey and your story is so interesting and colorful. So you grew up, where'd you grow up?
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a girl from Boca.
Okay. Love it.
Southern Florida. Grew up on the water in a small surf town called Boca Raton. You know, at the time, it was beginning to grow into the Seinfeld, memo. But before that, Delray, Boynton, it was all very, very chill, super low key, until it became the place where everyone, you know, bought their multi-retirement homes.
Condos,
I grew up in Southern Florida, riding my bike along the beach, running along the ocean, on boats all the time, fishing. It was a very, you know, somewhat nautical world, along with just very insulated and super traumatic inside the house, but very like amazing outside the house.
What was going on inside the house?
Inside the house, I just never knew what temperature the house was at. And I never knew it wasn't consistent. And that created a lot deep need for healing, you know, not having that consistency. And my mom was really hurting and, working out her karma and continuing to do so up until this day, as we do, you know. And my dad wasn't really there because he had a really phenomenal career as a brain surgeon.
Mm.
And he loved his work so much. And he was really respected in the community. And so I grew up kind of in that wing, but I was always the one that wanted to go to the thrift shops. And we definitely had a lot of TCBY.
TCBY.
My sister and I would drive around. And I also really don't have a lot of memory too.
Yeah.
Like 11 and below, I don't remember much.
Interesting.
And I remember some things through story because I was the third of three. So it's like through my siblings' stories.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh yeah, that was me. But like, was that? I don't really know.
Right.
But there was definitely a lot of rage and redness but there was also like a tremendous amount of beauty. And so and love, like a lot of affection. So it was a real mixed bag, and I think that if you were meant to control it, usually people will say, wow, it would have been great if you could have just had one.
Yeah.
Like, an abandoner, or like one way.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I had it all.
Yeah.
Like beauty, affection, complete physical abuse. Like, I mean, it was just like the pole. I did. I got an all-you-can-eat buffet. Here it comes again. I wonder if Walgreens is going to come up again.
Of course it will. Totally will. When does it not?
Totally. And it's not like I'm so grateful for my background, but I kind of, you heal. And I think that also, not only do you heal, like I'm a holder of space and I can hold for anything that comes in the room. And I mean, it feels like I'm 727. Like when I can do that, I'm like, whoa, that's like, there's like women behind me and my ancestrage that like are holding me too. But like literally anything that comes in the room, like it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because I really literally didn't know what was going to come in the room. So I've been like priming that PhD since I was born.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did you leave home?
I left home at 7. No, I was like, you know what? Give me that Prada backpack. I'm out of here. No, that's not what happened. I left for college. I went to great schools. I was super fortunate in those ways, always an old soul. So, I don't know. There was always elders in my mind that was like, you know what? Don't do that line of coke. Or like, don't do da-da-da. Like I didn't, it was very strange. Like in college, me and Mary Oliver and a chamomile tea. And people were like, we're going to go to the club. I'm like, I'll go Saturday night. I don't know. And I love to, I would totally had wine and smoke some cigarettes. But and I thought that was like, ooh, look at me.
Yeah.
And then all my friends were like, X for 4 days was great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I never felt the need to do it because I felt like that sober.
Yeah.
I feel like already so out of here.
Yeah.
For the most, like on a Tuesday at 2, I'm like, I'm pretty smashed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the consciousness realm, I guess. And so I can go there, and so,
And what did you study in school?
I studied theater and modern dance and hip hop. And African dance.
Oh my God, that's right. I remember the African dance class you took me to that one time. That was so fun.
That was so amazing.
That was so much fun.
Oh my God, she's incredible.
Then you moved to LA to pursue.
I didn't know. I went to so I was somewhat ostracized in college by this professor, and it's so crazy that this is still the story. You know how our stories, where it's like we're still telling them.
Yeah.
And because we all walk around with like a great, it might be a duffel bag, or for me, it's now a fanny pack, whatever, of like what are like what's still hanging around.
Yeah.
And this is definitely still one of them, because it was a pinnacle time of, there was a professor who really liked to tell me how not funny I was and how not talented I was. And so I ended up kind of following into a healing path much more than staying on the stage.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because all the people that would make it, like I would audition, and I was like, I'll be a flower, I'll be a woodboard, I'll be a white nectarine, like I'll be anything.
Yeah.
And I loved how malleable I was. Like I'll be the Frida Kahlo book.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
But that ended up really like, like dispersing quite quickly after that over and over again played out. And, poor him, probably couldn't get a role. I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? Like that's the piece maybe there, who knows? Or maybe he was, God putting me on the other path. I have no idea. I ended up, kind of putting theater on the side and, moving towards healing. I loved the fact that there were plants and herbs and vitamins. Like I was blown away by the whole, and that was a time, right? Like Whole Foods wasn't, it was like wild oats and it was like really not known
yet. It was
yet.
very hippie.
It was very hippie still.
Yeah.
And, my mom was always really interested in it. And I took a real loving to all of it. Like I was so curious about that whole world, but it really was a passion.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I would literally I loved going to the health food store.
Yeah.
I would just go and like walk around and look at like Pau de Arco and what's that good for, primrose oil. And like, I just loved it, but it was never like, oh, and this is what I'm going to pursue. But I ended up kind of thinking, oh, maybe that's what's happening, and maybe I'm not, meant for the stage, which is completely the wrong sentence forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's so like,
and it's all a stage.
It's all a stage, and there's so many stages of the stage.
Yeah.
And I'm, and as I walk and as we all walk, we find our way back to.
Yes. Yes. It's so interesting. And so then how did you wind up in LA?
I came to LA because, I ended up going to Columbia post-bac pre-med. My dad being an MD, it was like, why don't you be an MD? I'm like, I think I want to be an herbalist. And he was like, you be a doctor and then you can do anything, and he really meant well, right? He's like, be a doctor and then go travel with the hip hop tour, And I was like, that's actually a good idea. Maybe I'll be like a hip hop doctor, comedian person. So I really was like, I'll be everything I love that I think is a hobby now.
Yeah.
And then make a career as a, doctor.
Yeah.
And so Columbia, that was something. Post-its on the marble shower and many, many things occurred there. Sleeping on my physics books. Like I'm miserably failed out of that school. Like I literally could not. That's where I really came to the realization that I'm an artist and that this is not a hobby. And it was not like a soft landing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I was really heavy. I was depressed. I was like, my window in New York looked at Lincoln Performing Arts Center and the Juilliard Dance Studio. I looked at both of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really like, I'd look at them while I was studying as though like, that's for them and this is for me. Like I really didn't have the wherewithal and the, again, the reflection of like, this is, so good to try on, but you're an artist.
Yeah.
Like be a doctor, but you're an artist.
Yeah.
There wasn't that. I had to like, that had to show up on its own.
Yes.
I think that happens for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So then what happened after that? You were like, I'm out of here. You made the decision.
Right. I was like, okay, this isn't working. I had a tutor for everything and they were all amazing. Like drag queen tutor for physics. And really he was Israeli and he loved to smoke. There were so many randoms and I just couldn't get torque. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get any of it.
Yeah.
I just like was like how, mitochondria. I needed like the visuals. I needed like I needed like a Broadway play for mitochondria. And then I totally got it. And then what was so fascinating is my study group, I would teach them everything and they would all get A's and I would fail. And they're like, but we don't understand. You taught us everything. I'm like, I know something's not clicking here. Because I understood it when I was telling you. And then when I sat down to take the test, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So there was a real like coming to to a place of realizing, oh, maybe this isn't for you. But then I ended up moving to Los Angeles because there were some phenomenal physicians here. And of course, this was also the time where physicians were starting to bring prayer and consciousness and some kind of mindfulness into the OR and into medicine. There was a Dr. Larry Dossey, and Deepak Chopra had literally just written his first or second book. It was very much in the beginning where yoga teachers weren't famous yet. And but they were becoming that. Their classes were filling. And so they were all out here.
Yeah.
And so that was a benefit when I came out here. But also, it was such a time. And so I ended up going to the Santa Monica
Shiatsu
school. I went to the Shiatsu school. But before that, I went to
the University
community college, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And I was taking one class semester. It's really getting there. I was going to be in med school when I'm 72. I was really going to make it. And it was there that, and I would be asked actually to go and audition for things randomly through a neighbor or something, because that's what happens here. Because it's kind of all around us, and, or you'd be great for this, or we need someone tomorrow. Can you come?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was literally one day that I was in organic chemistry. And I remember people saying this will either make it or break it for you. It's the hardest. And it was literally a voice. I was sitting in the class and it was you need to leave here. This is not for you. This is not your path.
Wow.
And it was so clear and I was so scared. And I literally got up and I was I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I can't make myself study this. This is not who I am.
Yeah.
And so I called my parents, who were totally taking care of me at the time because no one ever taught me to do anything else, and meaning financially.
Right.
And so I just told them this is not my path. And it was really intense. It was a really intense time. And it was also incredibly important. And so, yeah,
were they supportive, your parents?
I would say that, they are now, 25 years later. And it's so crazy. I became so many things, right? Mm-hmm. I did shiatsu. I was the natural nanny, I think, just through a business card. I'm not quite sure if I ever got a job. I had so many business cards that I would make. Just in the night. That's what I did.
Me too.
I just make, how many other things can I become? A muffin maker. I'm a florist. We are so many.
And it goes back to the story you were just telling about being in theater school and undergrad theater school, right?
Yeah.
And saying, and having this willingness, I'll be a flower, I'll be a white nectarine. I'll be
totally
this willingness and malleability that is, to really bring it into the theme of our show, it's a feminine, that's a divine feminine asset, and yet it doesn't always serve us because sometimes it's oh, but that's not true. I am, you were the girl with blue hair and no tattoos, but I can't put you in this category. Then don't put me in this category,
Right.
So interesting. Yeah. So your parents were probably, worried about you.
Can I say something
my parents
about
still
that?
worry about Yeah, of course.
I feel it's we are so many. And we don't give ourselves permission to be all of everything that we are, even if it's we just love to mop floors, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or I love doing dishes at other people's homes, right?
Yeah.
Just to be our fucking whole entire self.
Yeah.
And then when we're there, we can then shed into our truest self.
Mm.
Right? We are so many, but until we allow ourselves to be 19 different things, and then go, okay, without any hold on the story of scarcity, not enoughness, let it roll, 4,000 other things.
Yeah.
And those things can go to the side. They don't go too far, but they can become a passenger.
Yeah.
But they're not driving anymore, right? So, and then you can start to take the journey of my truth, my truest self, truest self.
Yeah.
And it might be completely unconventional. There's never been an application or a medical form that I filled out that has what I do.
Right.
It's other, and then the line is definitely not long enough.
Yeah.
So I'm like awakener, advocate for bodies,
Yeah.
activist. Like, what am
Yeah.
I? I'm many things.
Yes.
We are so many.
Yes.
And being okay with that.
Yeah.
Being okay with that. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's what's coming to me.
Yeah. I love it. No, I guess I want to flash forward to like, you had all this history, and I know we're skipping a bunch of stuff. You're a visual artist. Jules is an incredible painter.
Oh, thank you. I
And
forgot
then-
about that.
Yeah. One of the many. And shiatsu massage. And like, that's how when I met you, you were doing that. That's not how we met. We
Right.
met in the Taco
I
Bell
know,
commercial.
totally.
But, and then I went to shiatsu massage school and got my license and like did that whole thing.
right.
Like crazy.
So good.
Yeah, it was really good.
My
It was really
gosh.
good. I still have a lot of that knowledge, and I'm so grateful for
Totally.
going there.
Me too.
When you got married, you had your 2 children. How was this thing birthed? This kitchen healer, this advocate for women, this, like, how was this phase birthed, and where did that fall in the timeline of becoming a mother? And or maybe it didn't. Maybe it was before you became a mother. I don't know.
No, it definitely, well, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, there was birthing happening. There's always birthing happening, even if we think nothing is happening. And that's a true statement. Yeah. I mean, the origin story, I would say, is many. So it's like, what needs to come through for this and for your beautiful listeners. And I would say that, I really, I had the experience of just, putting stuff in the oven and like being someone that just cooks stuff. And I don't mean like a coq au vin. I mean like, just like throw a squash in or saute some kale or whatever.
Yeah.
People get really curious. And they did at that time. I think that whenever anybody's in a kitchen, it's like, oh, what's happening in here? And so essentially, as I was pregnant, and then let me think about that. It was more, it would be, after I had Ocean, and yeah, I mean, the most, I would say the story that is, if we had to put something on a map, would be when I had this music class at my house. And it was one of those classes where you brought your baby, and it was your one day. It was a one thing you did per day.
Yes.
That time.
Yes.
So yeah, it was this music class and this amazing woman named Music, because that's what happens in
of
LA.
course, of
Music
course.
teaches the music class,
Yes.
and she's so phenomenal. And, the women would come, and anytime anybody would come over, I'd have food. I mean, like, I just don't even understand any other way. And that would be how it was. And so I would have some stuff in the rice cooker and whatever, just trying to get through the day. Really.
Yeah.
And women would come over, and they would be like, it smells so good in here, and oh, it feels like home. And I would watch them soften. And then inside their softening, even if I didn't know who they were, because some people would bring a friend, or they'd be like, how did you do that? And I'd be like, I just put it in the oven with some olive oil. And it was really, really not something anyone was doing.
Yeah.
And like, that was really odd.
Yeah.
Like, to me.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I didn't go to cooking class. Like,
Yeah.
why isn't this? And this was a time, again, of like farm to table, Alice Waters.
Yeah.
These were, Michael Pollan was coming out with his stuff. Don't buy the plastic toy, buy the wood toy.
Yeah.
Like, this was a time
Yeah.
of like blogs, and like, it was a
Sure.
time. And so, inside that, it was like delicata squash and going to the market and gathering beautiful food, because we're so lucky here in Southern California to be so close to our farms, and they're so hungry to give you their food, and we're so hungry for their food, and the hunger's equal, and all of those amazing things were happening. But the fact that it wasn't just a natural occurrence,
Yeah.
was a very deep grief.
Yeah.
That was a grieving that I saw.
Yeah. Well, and I'll speak to that from my own experience. Like, and I've shared this on the show, and I've shared it in my writings, is that I had postpartum depression the first 2.5 years. And I was alone. My husband was, my now ex-husband, but then husband, was out of town and then out of the country for many, many months. And so I was alone with a baby. And which is many women's experience, whether their husband's out of the country or not. Like you're alone with your kid
Totally.
in the house. It can feel like a prison. And like you said, it's like, this is my one event for the day. And I certainly wasn't roasting squash and I love fresh foods and I love going to the farmer's market. I love all that. But it was all I could do to open up a Trader Joe's frozen mac and cheese and heat it up for myself. And that is so sad to me because I was malnourished, literally malnourished, spiritually malnourished. And, and I always think of that time because it would have been so amazing to have a community to come to like that, like the music class with the teacher music and smell the squash in your oven and smell because it is so nourishing, to use your word, that it's just to seek that nourishment, which, my God, if there's any time to be nourished, it's when you're nourishing a baby yourself.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
And we just don't have that in our culture. It's kind of like, oh, you pop that kid out, you're good. You're good. See ya. Like that's the feeling.
And I mean, I wonder, I wonder, can we go to there for a minute? Like that mac and cheese moment?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder, what could change that? Because in that moment, we're not calling anyone.
Right.
Okay. And I mean, for the majority, right? Even if we met someone the day before at like a breastfeeding thing and we're like, oh my God, I'll totally call you. Or we go to program and the list.
Yes.
We're not calling anyone.
No.
And then we're suffering, but maybe we don't even know it. I don't know. Maybe we know it or we think it's going to end soon. Like, how can we, and the women that are listening, how can that change, right? Like, okay, well, you could get on a class and then it's like, well, that's an event, usually.
Yeah.
It feels like an event, especially if you're depressed or you really are going through postpartum.
Yeah.
It feels like, oh God, I don't even know how I can leave the house.
Yeah.
And you don't feel like you need to go to the emergency room, which is usually when someone will make a phone call, especially a woman.
Right.
Which needs to change.
Yes.
Because we do consider everything an event because we wait.
Yes.
Until we're dying.
Yes.
To fucking get anybody to help us.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how can we literally change the scaffolding of that not feeling like an event? Because at that time, it really wasn't up to you to roast veggies. Like you were not able.
No.
That was not the time for you in a delicata squash.
Yeah.
That was just not it. But it was for me to then bring it over.
Right.
Or to have a group.
Yeah.
Or maybe anyone that's listening to invite people and create the practice of, I'm not making this an event. I'm keeping my laundry out. I'm going to not clean up. I'm not going to, a big part of my work is about the non-event.
Yes.
It is not an event to get together.
Yes. Well, and having everything look perfect and be perfect. And, I say to a lot of the women that I talk to, and I learned this especially recently in the S Factor dance movement that I've been in for the last 5 years, like, let it be messy. Let yourself trip and fall on your face and then get back up again in this slinky way, with the music and then climb on the pole or whatever. Like, but to carry that into life and let it be messy. Nobody's coming, especially not other moms, by the way. They're not coming in going, oh, her stuff isn't color coded.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Oh my God.
Nobody's
Totally.
thinking
Why aren't
that?
the toys in a color coded way?
Right. I mean, and if that is happening, then gosh, we need to give that person extra love because they need it.
It's really, I think it's just a deep, it's a deep desire for intimacy. Like if we want to be seen, we're going to have to be human.
Yeah.
Like we're going to have to be the messy person we actually are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never forget one coach of mine many years ago said, I was having clients come to the house at that time. And I said, oh, it's a lot because the kids leave and then I sage the house and it shifts into like a medicine home and da-da-da. And then I, got to clean up a little. And she was like, wait. What do you mean you're cleaning up a little? I'm like, well, I just want to tidy it up. She's like, oh no, what if you, of all people, like the people they're coming to see, didn't tidy it up?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's 95% of the session,
Yes. Yes.
like that's, totally it.
Yes.
And literally, I have not cleaned up since that day. Like, it was like, yeah, I mean, I want you to be able to walk through the house.
Right. It's not, you're not living in squalor.
Yeah. And we have a house where you really can be a hoarder and no one would notice. Like a craftsman, you can really, the bones allow you to be a hoarder. But like, it's like, when are we going to allow ourselves to be who we truly are?
Yeah.
Even in the moment, knowing that we're changing.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're never going to park our car in the same group of cells. Our cells are constantly changing. Yeah. So it's all the mind. It's like this mind idea that like, oh, and then they're going to see me as that, and they're going to think this, and then God, you can't fucking control a goddamn thing. Oh my God, it's exhausting. And it's, those are the conversations we need to be having, not how are you, I'm fine. How are you, I'm fine just took us nowhere. Yeah. We just almost went backwards.
Yeah.
How about, how are you? I'm going through so much. Okay, great. I'm not going to take it on, but tell me.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Well, and I was thinking as you were talking earlier, and I'm hearing the ant play his violin outside again. We're just going to go with it.
He's
We're going to go
totally holding us.
Yeah, he is. He's like serenading us right now. You said, how do we shift that? How do we change that? I think we change it by having these conversations and being vulnerable and open about, like I was shared about my mac and cheese story. You shared about what opened you up to this, knowledge that there was a need for this, and like you were pulled to it. But I think the number one way we can change it is by passing it on to our children, and like, because then it can create that ripple, like going back to what we were saying about how could our parents not talk to us about death, not talk to us about anxiety, because they didn't have the language, they didn't have the knowledge, and it's like, we do. So we can pass that on and pass that on. I was talking to my friend, Dano. He's my dear friend and Pilates instructor. And I'm reading this book called The Price of Motherhood that I can't recommend highly enough, by Anne Crittenden. It's a genius book. And it talks about how it's the most underpaid job in the world and underappreciated, and it's invisible and all of these things. And she interviews all these experts, and it's a really amazing book. And he said, you women are changing the future. You're raising, and we were talking in particular about men and how men engage in Dano's gay, just for context of this. But we were talking about how men, straight men in particular, engage in romance and marriage and courtship and all this stuff. And like, again, how we were kind of talking about this before we hit record, like the construct of marriage, like the old-timey construct of marriage. Like, does it work? I don't know. Like, I'm now divorced, so mine didn't work. But he said, you're raising a man, that is going to either contribute or take away from. We look at what's happening right now in politics and all this. It's like, all those guys had moms. I'm not blaming them, but I'm just saying,
I was thinking that.
All those guys had moms, or still their moms might still be alive, but it's like, wow, that's, to me, that's where it starts. It's like,
absolutely. And like the more we really need to know that they're watching in the best way. Like, what an honor. Yeah. Like, I'm really seen.
Yes.
And I'm seen in the most intentional ways, even if I don't think I'm being seen. Like, yeah. If any of you are looking in the mirror, like, you're being watched on how that story is going to go down the line of your lineage.
Yes.
So, because in our bodies, we have our great, 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 great grandmothers and everyone else, right? Yeah. And so it's like, if you have daughters and even sons, they watch how you look at you, how you live in a body.
Yes.
How do you embody your body?
Yeah.
How do you make dinner?
Yeah.
Is it in the morning and it's like easy and whatever, and it just quilts inside the day, and then you go and have lunch at a friend's, and then you bring some food home and you kind of mix everything together, and that's just, you make do because that's a part of the story? Or is it 5 o'clock, hold your breath, witching hour, a shit show, like that? Those stories follow us and then move through them.
Yes.
And like, how do you have a party? Do you freak out? Does your I can't tell you how many stories, because my work really lives inside the story and healing the stories that don't serve, of like Thanksgiving, right?
Oh,
and
God.
like, what happened then? Oh, my mom would have a wine and I'd have to go upstairs. So I never learned how to make the turkey. Okay, that's a story.
Yeah.
Like if that's what we're doing. And I totally get needing space. I mean, please, I get it, like on every level. This is not I figured it out and like, good luck to everyone else. This is a fucking, unbutton your pants, damn it. You know what I mean? Like let it hang out and breathe. And let's all breathe together and say, motherfucker, I'm going to get through this day with you. And wow, we're amazing. And wow, this is really messy. And whew, okay, that wasn't how I wanted to do it. The more we can name, like you said, the grief, and the more we can name the messiness, when I fuck up all the goddamn time and I'll say, this is not how I want to be doing it, you guys. Like, mommy's really, I am having a messy day or whatever. And they'll be like, you really are. Or like whatever. They'll usually agree with me. But like really naming, like, wow, I'm really angry about this. Like I'm yelling at both of you. They're like, can you stop? I'm like, I'm trying to make my way to landing this anger. I'm really mad at both of you or whatever. Right. And it's not like this. Like I'm screaming and I'm on a mic and I'm trying to be all calm, but like, it's really messy. And I came from so much of that not named, waiting for the footsteps to come in and apologize. That's what my body was waiting for, right? So for them, I'm in the moment going, I'm having a messy moment and this is not about you. Don't take it on, And like, does that mean they won't go to therapy? No. My intention is less therapy. And if you're on drugs or pregnant, tell me, you know what I mean? Like they're like they're goals. They're like real hashtag goals. like less therapy than me is my number one for my kids, just like really like, again, just like taking the thread out of the seam.
Which goes back to that kind of the theme of our talk today, which is like, that allowing and permission, as you said, just to be all the things.
Totally.
And many of them sometimes at one time, even though it's scary.
So scary and judged terribly, right? To, wow, you're really going crazy or whatever, whatever the thing has been. But I would say that the more we can name ourselves in the room, and the more we can be in our bodies. And really move it through. I mean, everything is, for me, really is about a below the neck conversation.
So let's talk about that. So you, first of all, I was just about to say, people can find you on Instagram. We're going to provide the links to your Instagram, your website, all the fun things that you're up to. And if you guys go to Jules's Instagram, you'll often see her doing a movement and doing a dance, and it's so. It's so free, and just watching it makes me feel free. And I came into your home today and you had some Indigo Girls on, and I just started like moving and grooving. Totally. I didn't miss a beat.
So good.
And it's so true. Like when you say like living from the neck down, it's like, following your body's knowledge, like learning that your body does have knowledge. And then learning to follow that is so liberating.
It is so liberating. It's the answer. It's the answer, right? It's like, it's how we feel the ocean. It's how we embody a fire. It's so many things. I mean, the elders live in the body. They don't live in the mind. The mind is still super young, and biologically it is. The mind, it stops growing at 29, 30, but our bodies like are full with essentially our heart is the first thing we know, right? That's like, oh, there's life in the body. So when the heart goes, we're like, ooh, okay, life. So that means the heart is the oldest, right? It was here first. I mean, a lot of the cells that made up the heart. But really, as a whole thing that we can name, it was the heart. And so then we go about life completely forgetting about the heart. And not really knowing how to listen to the heart, right? Like you can listen to it and be like, oh yeah, totally know what you mean. What are you talking about?
And then I don't trust you. You made me fall in love with that guy.
Totally.
He
was so bad for me, but I'm going to text him later. And so, like just really, again, that's in the total allowing, but the heart being our elder, I'm really she's my guru, in the most mundane Tuesday at 2 way.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
what's happening on Tuesday at 2, by the way? I'm noticing.
I mean, just maybe even it's a Thursday at 4. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I know that I have a body, and I probably have an hour more of freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a countdown.
There's always a countdown.
Totally.
Until just all hell breaks
Totally.
loose. And then it's mom.
Oh my God, totally.
And sleep.
And then the morning, and then freedom. But yeah, I mean, or not, who knows?
Right.
Who else is going to be like
Right.
Jules?
Yeah.
But yeah, so the below the neck piece is it's so vital, because everything that's going on in my mind, which is usually such a shit show.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody up there thinks that like they've got the handle on this,
Yeah.
and like they've figured it out, and we're going to totally, get through this or not. And then I really have to move it through. So I move a lot. And even when I don't want to, like on Instagram, it's been such it's definitely been like a get out of your way practice, because, some people be like, I love your dancing, and I'm like, okay. But really the piece is like, please start doing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
really,
an invitation.
It is.
And I get that when I see
like
it.
move your body. Like, you don't have to video it, even though I'd love for you to.
Yeah.
But the more we move our bodies, I mean, can you imagine where our government would be if women knew they had bodies?
Yeah.
And their bodies had their wisdom.
Yeah.
And their hearts were their elder, like in different language even.
Yes.
We could put it in conservative language.
Yes.
But just the realms of like the body knowing, or the body as God.
Yeah.
Which, great. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And like endless, infinite wisdom.
Yes.
Instead of the mind and the fear and all of that. And so, yeah, when I'm at any point, or I'll definitely do a sound like a ha, and like move it through, because all of it is, for the most part, it's so not serving me.
Yeah.
It's just like creating chaos.
Yeah.
And so, and I serve women, so I have to get out of my way like a lot, so that I can hear them and be and hold them, which is an amazing setup for me.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
I'm like, God, it really works on many levels.
You're like, I have to do as I say.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. We could literally talk for another, hours.
Yes.
But we have come to the time.
Oh.
So every episode, at the end of the interview, I ask my guests 3 questions, the same 3 questions. And then I have a lightning round of questions, just quick fire.
Ooh,
so
fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Okay, great.
Okay. So the first question is, Jules, what do you think about when you hear the word MILF?
First thing that came to mind was a carton of milk. Have you heard that before?
No,
I'm like, that's the real answer.
That's so, yep.
That just literally came to my mind.
That is the perfect
white
answer.
carton.
What's something you've changed your mind about recently?
I mean, I want to say right this second, I changed my mind. And I don't know about what. I want to say yes. I'll change my mind.
What's something you've changed your mind about recently, Jules? Yes. Okay, the third question is... The third question is...
I've decided I'm not going to answer any of the questions.
Yeah, there you go.
Permission.
How do you define success?
Oh, love and joy and an abundance of both at all times.
Okay, lightning round. Ocean or desert?
Ocean.
Favorite junk food?
M&Ms.
Movies or Broadway show?
Ooh. Broadway show.
Daytime sex or nighttime sex?
Sex all the time.
Yes. Texting or talking?
Talking.
Cat person or dog person?
Dog.
Have you ever worn a unitard?
Yes.
Shower or bathtub?
Oh, I'm lucky if I can do both or one. I would say neither.
Yes. Yes. Ice cream or chocolate?
Oh, both.
Yes. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at ping pong?
I'm really good at ping pong. Yeah. Good question.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Ignorance. That came out like a bullet.
I love it. I'm deciding which one.
I'm like, and people not getting back to me. Okay, that's another one. Oof.
If you could push a button it would create 10 years of world peace, but it would also place a 100-year ban on all beauty products, would you push it?
Yeah. I mean, they go together, don't they? Isn't world peace banning beauty products? I mean, I don't need any. Just open up a sap tree and make lip gloss. I don't care. Let's fucking do it.
Sap tree. I'll take 2 sap trees, sir.
And then some beets, and you can make a little lip gloss. I don't know.
Awesome. I love it. Superpower choice: invisibility or ability to fly?
Flying. Ability to fly.
Would you rather have a penis where your tailbone is or a third eye?
It's very odd. A penis where your tailbone is.
Fully functioning penis, but you would still urinate from your urethra, just so that we're
very odd.
Clear.
Okay. Clear urine.
And the third eye is a literal third eye, but it could have maybe spiritual.
I mean, I feel like I have a third eye, so then maybe I have to fix it. I don't know. I don't want a penis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No penis.
I don't want any part of my body
Nothing.
to have a penis.
No.
I like other people to have a penis.
Yes. What was the name of your first pet?
Rags.
What was the name of the street you grew up on?
I think it was Turn Point Circle. Are you going to try to get into my checking account?
No.
Turn as in the bird, by the way.
I was going to say that as in the bird?
TERN.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Your porn name is Rags Turn.
Rags Turn. Coming at you. Coming at you live.
Rags Turn. You're a gem. I love you so much, Jules.
I love you. I'm so honored to
show.
be here. Thank you for having me.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed my conversation with Jules. Next week on the show, we have marriage family therapist, Dr. Danica Zivit. And she and I talked about fertility issues, motherhood, and trying not to keep up with the Joneses. Is that a double negative or a triple negative? I don't know. But it was a great conversation with a really smart lady. And I look forward to sharing that with you next week. Thanks so much for tuning in.